Hello and welcome to Nick and Roy's Best of and Bloopers of Season 6. Believe it or not, Nick and Roy have managed to scour the internet for 6 seasons of totally useless information. You, however, may have had to endure 6 seasons of Nick and Roy's quirky facts and stories from around the world. Nick and Roy are truly grateful for your loyalty to the show. With over 65 countries around the world and across Canada on the iHeartRadio Talk Network, your appetite for totally useless information continues to grow day by day. Today, we will highlight not only the bloopers and blunders, but we'll also revisit some of your favorite segments, and of course, the fan favorite news stories from around the world. Let's get started. Nick was sharing a fact that the maker of the Statue of Liberty was not getting any government support to deliver the statue. So, a newspaper magnate came to the rescue. No, Nick, not that kind of magnet.
In the end, it was Joseph Pulitzer, the American newspaper magnate, who helped him finish the job by printing the names of every person who donated even a penny to the cause. The strategy rapidly boosted the circulation of Pulitzer's newspaper when readers bought a copy simply to see their names in the paper, a very brilliant marketing strategy.
Yeah, and it must have been very hard for Pulitzer to walk around town with all those newspapers attached to him.
Right, he was. He was a real
He was a newspaper magnate, you said, so...
Did I mean magnate? What is it? What's the word?
No, he was a newspaper magnate, so I said it must have been hard to walk around town with all those...
Yeah,
Nick, stay with the joke. Stay with... Folks, marijuana is legal in Canada. So this is the effect right here.
No, it's not.
You ever see the commercial, Brain on Drugs? This is what it's like.
Yeah, there's your eggs over easy again.
In this next clip, we find Nick searching for his mouse.
On the show today, we talked about fashion, we talked about food, we talked about history. It's time. I can't find the mouse. Hang on.
I can't find the mouse.
On the show. 3, 2, 1.
If you have listened to the show enough times, you will totally understand how a simple noise in the background can take center stage.
In 1644, you remember that, Nick, right?
Yes, I do.
English statesman Oliver Cromley, he banned the eating and making of pie.
Really?
What'd you pop a thing of champagne there?
I was celebrating it. I love pie.
He popped the champagne and said, burnt toast.
Yeah.
I'm messing around with that brain. They got to find it first.
Every week, Nick and Roy answer your emails in the mailbag segment.
What's in the mailbag? What's in the mail?
Charlie from the Bronx, New York, our old stopping grounds. Charlie says, Dear Nick and Roy, we love listening to your show with our poker buddies. After a night of poker, we ask... 3, 2. After a night, I don't know what I wrote there, but it wasn't in English.
No, even what you said was just you stopped. You said after a night of
Poker.
No, but I you said poker.
Yes.
And I was thinking about my high school days again.
Yes. Poker, hardly knew her.
You can send Nick and Roy an email. Go to nickandroy.com and click on Contact Us. You're listening to Nick and Roy's Best of and Bloopers of Season 6. Season 7 will start next week. There will be more guests, new topics, and much, much more information. Nick and Roy have been friends since high school. After hearing this next clip, we're not exactly sure what they learned.
46 BC, which comes right after 44 BC. I know it doesn't. That particular year, 46 BC, was 445 days long and is the longest year in human history.
What?
Nicknamed the Year of Confusion, this year had 2 extra leap months inserted by Julius Caesar. This was in order to make his newly formed Julian calendar match up with the seasonal year. Maybe that's why they stabbed him. They didn't like the fact that it took 445 days for the year to go by. So they said, you know what, we're had enough of this. But Julius Caesar added the extra 2 leap months in order for it to line up.
Wow.
There you
So
go.
this was all done before his death.
That's right, 46 BC.
Well, this was in 44 BC that they killed him. So it was 2 years later that they enacted that?
Are they still trying to figure out which came first? 44 or 46 BC?
Yeah.
We have to check on this because we can't lead our listeners into the wrong information because that was just like yesterday.
Wait a minute. So what year?
Yeah. Let's just put Julius Caesar's death. Maybe I got it wrong.
Yeah, 44 BC.
There you go. Okay. I thought I got it right.
Okay, so
All
let me
right.
type in.
So they did it afterwards. That's all.
But it said that he put it in there.
Well, he probably did. He probably had to wait a couple of years to catch up, and he had to make one longer. Who knows? Quetzalcoatl lasted 100 years, and he was dead.
These geniuses have finally figured it out.
So hold on. So what came first, 46 BC or 44 BC?
Oh, yes, you're
So
right.
it does make sense.
Right. It's backwards calendar.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Got it.
So you talk about the year of confusion.
Yeah, it's a backwards calendar.
All right. Somehow.
Okay, we've solved it. We've solved it.
We've solved the problem, so don't worry. Don't throw out your calendars just yet.
Consulted with our team of experts, and they say the clock went backwards back in the BC, not the AC or DC, which is considered electric. Talk about confusion.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of every show, the last segment is dedicated to news from around the world. These stories are real, and Nick and Roy find them and deliver them to you. There are people out there that just can't get along with their neighbors. But then again, does your neighbor have chickens that poop in your yard?
Angered that a neighbor's chicken had been pooping on the back patio, a Florida woman allegedly
Here we go.
allegedly
Yes, we all have chickens and roosters here in Florida.
that's right, yes. The Florida woman allegedly retrieved a bucket of pee from her bathroom and proceeded to douse the bird's owner with the foul liquid, according to the arrest report.
Oh, it was foul liquid.
That's right. Police busted Christine Turman, 57, on a misdemeanor battery charge following a confrontation on a Sunday evening at the
So
Palm
the
Haven.
birds pooped on her back.
So Christine, the perpetrator, I guess, the criminal, the alleged criminal, the charged, got angry because her neighbor's chicken pooped on her back patio. This happened on a Sunday evening at the.
So she doused her with a bucket of urine.
That's right. It is. They reside at the Palm Haven Mobile Home Park in St. Petersburg, Florida. Cops say Turman was mad at the victim, Lawrence Stencil, due to, quote, his chicken pooping on the back patio, end quote. So Turman, quote, went inside and got a bucket of pee from
Just
her.
happened to have a bucket of pee in there.
She walked out on the back patio and threw
She
the.
said, what am I going to do with this bucket of pee? Let me throw it on that chickadee over there.
She walked out on the back patio and threw the full bucket of pee, end quote. The bucket struck Stencil. Now, here's the the really scary part. The bucket struck Stencil in the face, causing him pain.
Oh, wait. So she hit him with the bucket as well.
So maybe she threw the bucket and all, not just the pee. Maybe she threw the bucket as well.
Maybe there wasn't a whole lot of pee in there either.
Well, we're not sure. They didn't tell us
Depends.
exactly.
Maybe she downed one of them Colt 45s. She's in the park. She's in the old trailer park, so she might be.
They don't know how big the bucket was. According to the sheriff, the victim was wet when he arrived and smelled of urine.
Oh, no.
The arrest report does not indicate why.
Where was the chicken during this whole event?
We're not sure where the chicken was. You know what? While they're having a pee fight, it was probably in the back patio pooping again.
I bet you the chicken was so scared it laid an egg.
did. So now apparently
The guy should have picked the chicken up and squeezed it real hard, and it could have pooped all over the woman.
like one of those dessert bags. What do you call them? Like icing bags.
Yeah, I'll fix that chicken. I'll dress up like Colonel Sanders. You see how scared that chicken gets.
That's right. Now, the arrest report does not indicate, this is back to your earlier question, the arrest report does not indicate why Turman had a bucket of waste at the ready.
Yeah, I mean, what happened there? Was she using the bucket maybe inside the trailer?
We're not sure. Again, it's not clear. Turman admitted to her actions after being read her rights. Deputy Levy Blake reported. So
they read her rights,
yeah,
and she went to jail.
She was booked into the county
with a deadly urine bucket.
Right. Well, that's evidence now. It was held into evidence, and she was booked into.
So they never took the chicken in for questioning.
No, they didn't. Turman was booked into the county jail, from which she was released after posting a $500 bond.
And she said, God, I want to stay in there. They have toilets. I use a bucket at home.
Now, this just in, breaking news, Turman's boyfriend, Kevin Avery, was also arrested for allegedly threatening Stencil in the presence of police.
Oh, so what happened is he came probably during the whole event, and he probably tried to stick up for her.
Yeah.
So he probably just pulled it out and started dousing the guy with his own urine, maybe.
We're not sure.
I don't know.
So, again, details as they become available, we will tell you here on Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy.
Did the cops maybe I wonder if they took any samples to bring in?
Compare the pee?
As evidence. Sure, as evidence.
Yeah, by the way, it is not your pee. By the way, your pH balance is off.
It has to happen in Florida, too, by the way. And, folks, we do have toilets here in Florida, so it's okay to come on down.
That's right. Visit Florida.
We will highlight more news stories as we continue with Nick and Roy's Best of and Bloopers of Season 6. Roy had a fascinating fact about all of the many uses of rubber. If you know Nick and Roy, you may have already guessed where they went with the many uses of rubber.
Something that we all take for granted is rubber. Now, think about it. Nobody even thinks about that. You get in your car, you drive, the tires are made of rubber.
Yeah.
You close the door is insulated with a rubber seal.
Right.
So many things. A rubber garden hose.
Right.
You screw the garden hose on, there's a little rubber gasket inside of it. That rubber is all around us all the time.
Or you're on a hot date.
Exactly. Rubber is a useful, necessary item. I used to carry one in my back pocket in my wallet all the time.
Which is not recommended, by the way, but go on.
Exactly. Leaves that circle. But anyway.
Yeah, that's why.
Leaves that circle in your wallet.
Yeah, you can never get rid of that circle.
One time I was in need of it so quickly, I used the wallet.
Wow. So it's not only rubber, it's rubber and leather.
Yeah.
Hey, what's that change purse? Come on, I'm getting hot and horny. Knowing me, I would show up with the change purse.
I questioned the girl after. I swore I had $25 in that wallet.
What's in your wallet? Not anymore. Nothing left. Oh, wow.
What's in your wallet? Apparently an Italian sausage. That's what...
And zucchini and tomatoes.
Oh my God, I don't even know how you go on. Wow. Well, we take rubber for granted.
We sure do.
The history of rubber goes just like this. Mayan women used to walk through the forest in the jungle, and they would forage for food, pick up mushrooms, things like that. And they would call this particular tree the crying tree because the white sap would run down the sides of the tree. It's not until later on that they began to collect this white sap which was extremely sticky and thicker than honey.
Mhm.
That white sap is latex, and that is what makes rubber. We would eventually call it a rubber tree, and so on and so forth. And guys like Firestone would cultivate these rubber trees and make tires and blah, blah, blah.
And
the rest is just a rubber history.
bounce that around in your head for a couple of minutes.
Stick that in your wallet.
Yeah. Exactly.
Part of being on a podcast and radio show is the ability to speak English. Clearly, Nick did not get the memo.
So our next listener,
The listeners,
yes, he had
do they wear spittlers?
Well, he didn't because he has a daughter. If your business is a cleverly named business, send us an email and we'll put you on the show. Go to nickandroy.com. 3, 2.
Let's set a mobile.
Yeah, I see, but yeah. If you play it backwards, it might be English.
Another news story that Nick and Roy covered was the case of the woman who put a Tiddly Wink up her nose, and it got stuck.
For most of her life, hospital kitchen worker Mary McCarthy often had a pain on the right side of her nose. Last year, after an extremely painful COVID-19 test, because in my teaser I said the headline was COVID-19 actually saved her life, her nasal problems deteriorated. The reason became obvious when a surgeon at a Christchurch hospital extracted a yellow Tiddly Winks piece 37 years after it was lodged in her upper nose as a child.
What?
The surgeon also removed calcified material that had grown around the Tiddly
surgeon worked he worked from the Tiddly
and gave
in
her
the nose?
Yes, he grabbed a Tiddly Wink from her nose 37 years after she lodged it in there. Now, Tiddly Winks is the game which was developed in England in the 1860s and it's played with small sets of small discs called winks.
Little Tiddlies.
Yeah,
Little Tiddlies.
Exactly. All right.
Yeah.
So McCarthy, who's now 45, was recovering, although still in pain and very nasal, was breathing through her right nostril for the first time in 8 months.
How big is a Tiddly Winks piece?
Almost the size of a dime.
In her nose for 30-something years.
Yep.
She didn't realize there was a problem.
She remembered that while playing Tiddly Winks as a kid, when she was 8 years old, so 37, so that makes her 45. 45 years old. Okay?
30. Oh, my God.
So as a kid, she and her siblings were playing, and then she would stick them up their nose and then blow them out of their nose. Mm-hmm. One time, she accidentally inhaled one of them instead of blowing it out, and she was too scared to tell her mother, so she didn't.
So she hid it there.
She hid it in her nose. She remembered being...
She said, nobody will know. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows it was in her nose. See, that's what she knew.
Nobody knows it's up there.
That's right. But she remembered being terrified at the time because thinking, where did it go? And then she always had difficulty breathing, like I have difficulty talking, through her nose over the years, but never gave it much thought. But the problem took a turn for the worse.
Uh-oh.
The Tiddly Wink that caused McCarthy's pain and breathing difficulties started to get lodged. After a COVID-19 nasal swab test, she was in pain for days afterwards.
There it goes.
Then developing serious sinus problems. Her nose was leaking constantly and in a lot of pain. She went to several general practitioners, and they put the pain down as a chronic sinus condition.
I had a friend that had a problem like that, the leakiness as well, and the hiding of the Tiddly Winks, but not in the nose. The Tiddly Winks were hidden in another spot and were not found unless the person hadn't tried to smuggle that cocaine across the border. So cocaine saved the life of a friend of mine.
So luckily, the nurse at the hospital believed it was more than just sinus pain. And I'm ignoring that for a reason. They asked me, because it's a little uncomfortable as you're squirming in your seat, they asked me if I ever put anything up my nose, and I told them about the Tiddly Wink and sort of laughed it off. Well,
She knew it.
A CT scan revealed an object in her upper nose. And although it did not look like a Tiddly Wink, he removed it. And while she was awake, by the way, it was too big and they had to get in there and really dig it out, literally. When she woke up from surgery, she said, "What was it?" And they said, and they were laughing. She was the laughing stock of the hospital. Imagine this poor lady, right? A Tiddly Wink, and it wasn't even, and it didn't even lose its color after so many years. There was calcification, like we said, and now,
this is disgusting.
and she
I don't
said,
even like when people put their finger in their nose. Nevertheless, a Tiddly Wink.
she said her nose had grown a little bit crooked, so she was looking forward.
Around the Tiddly Wink.
She was looking forward to a life of easier breathing and a straighter nose.
So she has the Tiddly Wink up her nose.
Right.
She goes to the doctor, surgeon. I
Yeah.
would assume, was he a famous doctor? Was his name like Dr. Nostradamus?
Yeah, he predicted that he knew what it was. He predicted it in advance.
It was in one of his quatrains. Stupid woman puts thing up nose, tiddlywinker.
Dr. Nostradamus.
That's right, and no more games.
No more games for her. Boy,
But 30-something years she put the tiddlywink in her nose and she left it there.
yeah.
She's not a normal person,
No,
Nick.
she's not.
Something's wrong with her.
I'm glad it was a tiddlywink and not a...
Was this in Florida?
No, it was in Christchurch, which is done, I think, in New Zealand, I believe.
Oh, well, yeah, they're not right.
Yeah, I think it was Florida. You know what?
Kiwis.
Listen, it was Florida, New Zealand. That's
Nah,
what it was.
Kiwis down in...
There are so many news stories about stupid criminals. Nick and Roy found a couple and shared them with you.
So this is another round of stupid criminals. Okay, every once in a while we gather some stupid criminal stories. This one I call an APP instead of an APB, like All Points Bulletin. This is an APP. A Michigan man was caught by cops as he allegedly urinated on a police car
Oh,
in Florida.
was he washing it?
No, he wasn't. So this man was from Michigan, but he was in Florida, and officers apparently threw the cuffs on him before he finished.
What? Oh, so he was still urinating while they were cuffing him.
Exactly. Right.
Well, that's not fair.
The defendant.
Maybe he wasn't even trying to hit the car. They just had him up against the car while they were cuffing him. He was writing his name on the hood of the car.
That's right.
J-O-E, Joe.
His name is David Marcel Lewis Johnson.
So he had his Johnson out, and
Yes.
he was using it.
Yes. He was 26 years old, taken into custody while still in the commission of a crime.
Yeah, and the cops said, "You peed on our car. You're in trouble. You're in trouble."
Yeah. And boy, were they pissed. Mr. Johnson was busted about 1 a.m. on February 8th. Boy, what a great birthday present, huh?
They
As-
should have shackled his penis first.
That's right. they handcuffed the wrong appendage,
They
apparently.
should have handcuffed him and stuck like a big gulp on his, on his Johnson.
This Johnson.
Mr. Johnson.
He was busted at 1 o'clock in the morning as he relieved himself on the bumper of it was a sergeant squad car
Oh, big mistake.
in downtown St. Petersburg, according to
Oh,
the arrest.
even more of a big mistake. He's in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Yeah.
They don't take kindly to this stuff.
No, they don't. The affidavit, by the way.
By the way, Florida is the restroom capital of the world. There's a restroom everywhere you go, including public restrooms in the street. This man, where is he from? Michigan?
He was from Michigan, but he was in Florida, and he couldn't wait, so he peed on
I've
the
been to Michigan. There's not that many restrooms there, so I'm going to have to side with Mr. Johnson. I don't think he knew that there were restrooms all over the place, and he decided to relieve himself.
Johnson, who lives just outside Detroit, was uncooperative with questioning.
Oh, he lives in Detroit, so now we have to give him double kudos because he pees in the street no matter what.
That's right, yeah.
They don't even have bathrooms in Detroit.
Shout out to all the people in Detroit. Aren't you relieved we mentioned you on the show? He was
People in Detroit, if you're listening right now, close your zippers.
the second stupid criminal. We'll call him Butthead. A bungling felon from Washington State made a series of blunders when he shot himself in the testicles when he tried to hide the weapon. All of this while storing drugs in his butt.
He shot his balls off.
While he was while he was inserting drugs in his buttocks. So, Cameron Jeffrey Wilson, 27.
Could you imagine he made a hole in his testicles, pushed in the drugs, and it fell out his testicles? He's like a vending machine.
He's a bungling idiot.
You are listening to Nick and Roy's Best of and Bloopers of Season 6. Season 7 will start next week with more guests, news topics, and much, much more totally useless information. Let's go back to news stories from around the world. Imagine the shock of a bride who finds out that her husband is missing something just before they're about to tie the knot.
A bizarre incident has come to us from India.
What?
Yep. It reminds you of the movie Bala. The movie released in 2019 is a story of a man who suffers from premature balding and hides it from his bride-to-be to marry her. A groom nearly pulled this off, but it didn't pay off because the bride refused to marry him after finding out about his baldness, even though half of the wedding ceremonies were completed.
He was wearing a wig?
The groom, before walking in, felt dizzy and fainted. As he fell to the ground, his wig came off.
Oh, no.
And the groom had kept the bride's family in the dark about his baldness. As soon as the bride learned that the groom was bald, she refused to go ahead with the marriage ceremony. She said no.
Oh, this is a hairy situation.
It is. Despite the efforts of the family members and relatives to persuade the bride, no, she stood firm.
I mean, Gandhi was bald. There's loads of bald people in India.
Yeah, but you knew that ahead of time. This guy was hiding the fact that he was bald. See, that's the problem.
He's hiding. He had a big secret.
This is how serious it was. The matter was taken to the local police station.
Of course.
But again, the bride...
What would they be doing in India?
But the bride remained firm even after the police investigation. Yeah. A meeting was called, and the girl's family...
The bride remained firm? I thought it would be the groom that would be firm in the honeymoon night.
No, there was no honeymoon because she didn't marry him.
Oh, that's right, because he faked the hair.
That's right, and he didn't tell anybody. The girl's family claimed...
Go to, like, hair club from Indian men?
Maybe they should have, like, the sprayed-on hair, maybe, you know?
Who knows what this man did, but he hid it from her, so it had to be good.
They spent lots of money on the marriage. The groom's side agreed to their demands and returned the money to the bride's father because they're talking about customs and traditions.
Yeah, probably like, $50 and a sack of curry.
Yes. The bride's uncle...
Yes. Oh, now the uncle's involved.
Oh, he's involved now, too. There's a whole family affair. Said the groom's family should not have hidden the fact that he was bald. If they had told us about the groom's baldness, we would have mentally prepared the bride, and she would not have been so shocked.
So the hairpiece fell off at the wedding.
He was nervous. He fainted, and as he fell, never mind the fact that he fainted, he's on the floor, maybe bleeding from his fall. They were shocked because he was bald because his wig.
So he was not a very smart man.
He wasn't.
Because he should have fell, he fainted, he fell to the floor. When he woke up, he should have said, "My God, my hair's falling out."
That's right. That's how hard I fell.
And she would have,
no,
she would have felt bad for him and still married him.
No, because they kept this a secret. You cannot expect a marriage to start on falsehood, according to the uncle.
Exactly. This is why Nick was flat out, showed the baldness
right away
to his wife.
That's
20,
right.
How long? 20, how many years?
20 years ago, and
20.
Yeah, exactly.
So 20 years ago, she was not shocked at the altar.
No, she wasn't. She's shocked now, but not at the altar.
Yeah. I think Joe Avati's wife seemed shocked.
Even though they tried hey, Joe. Even though they convinced the bride, she did not agree to the marriage, and later a compromise was reached between the two parties. So
they never got married.
They never got married. They did come up with a solution.
They did not get married, and they did not share the naan bread.
We will scour the internet and other sources to find out.
They did not eat the chicken korma.
More information, more useless information for you next time.
Hey, so they never had relations before, I guess, because, this guy just fell down and it fell off. Could you imagine during sex, the thing would have hit like a ceiling fan and went flying? It would have looked like he killed a beaver or some. Maybe he did kill a beaver. That's why she was marrying him. Who the hell knows?
She just had it stuffed.
We've all experienced the frustrations when visiting a fast food outlet. Sometimes they mess up the order. Other times, the food is served cold. This woman decided to take matters into her own hands.
A Florida woman was arrested after throwing and knocking things down at McDonald's.
Yeah.
The woman, identified as Tiana Jones, 22, intended to pick up her order of a Happy Meal, a chocolate shake, filet of fish sandwich, tea, and fries after placing the order online. When she arrived at the drive-thru, she was directed to pull ahead to the third window. Instead, Jones ignored those directions. She parked her car and entered the restaurant to address the mistake when she realized her order was wrong.
No. So she went inside.
The McDonald's surveillance video captured Jones' interaction with employees. She became so irate that it
She
led...
was on the McVideo?
She was, and she was so irate that she called 911.
I'm at McDonald's. I'm 5 months pregnant. These people don't know how to run a McDonald's. Come on. I want my money. They trying to cheat me out my money. I want my money.
So she called 911 because they got her order wrong. Now, this is serious. You don't call 911 for something like that.
Well, they were busy booking the Hamburglar, probably.
They were probably, exactly. But please, I know we kid around on the show. Do not call 911 unless it's an actual emergency. Okay, having said that.
Oh, listen, not getting the fish sandwich is a big deal.
No, but it's not an emergency, okay? It's a problem.
Not.
It's not. Okay. Jones's sister...
Dial 912 for that.
Right, yes. Jones's sister attempted to calm her down, but she couldn't do that. In addition, McDonald's even offered to reimburse Jones, but she refused.
Huh.
The 22-year-old started knocking over food condiments from the counter and later went behind the counter. And
She jumped behind the counter.
She jumped behind the counter, maybe applied...
Into the belly of the beast of McDonald's.
And started to throw out the stacks of cups and causing all kinds.
This is all hell breaking loose.
While Jones would eventually exit the McDonald's...
Did she have long red hair and pigtails? And was her name Wendy?
No, it wasn't. You know what? She was a redhead with pigtails, and she was wearing a crown.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, my uncle's the Burger King.
That's right. That's right. All right, Wendy, shut up.
I'll teach you.
So she leaves the McDonald's.
This isn't a bun. This is a bastard.
Well, speaking of buns, funny you should say that. She eventually left McDonald's, but not before twerking towards the surveillance camera.
Oh, so she showed her buns.
Exactly, because they got her buns wrong. Here is audio from Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd.
I don't know what was wrong with her that night. I don't know if she was like 2 fries short of a Happy Meal, or maybe she was short of the Happy Meal completely. But she created a McMess, and she acted like a McNut.
Can we get this guy on the show?
So I have to play it again. So this is Sheriff Grady Judd talking about this person that went nuts at McDonald's.
I don't know what was wrong with her that night. I don't know if she was like 2 fries short of a Happy Meal, or maybe it was she was short of the Happy Meal completely. But she created a McMess, and she acted like a McNut.
Okay. Now, this is the man of the law explaining.
This explains the see, we have a real sense of humor down here in Florida.
Oh, you have to.
Oh,
Come on.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on down here. I mean, we got the governor going after Disney World.
Yeah,
I mean, nobody's safe.
So
no cartoon character is safe here in Florida.
That's right, not even a clown. So Tiana, we'll call her Wendy, faces burglary with assault, criminal mischief.
Why burglary? Why burglary?
She probably took some of the stuff that she, like some of the
Something's
cups and
fishy here, and it's not her sandwich.
That was the problem. There was
Did she steal something? Did she take something with her? Did she?
Burglary with assault and criminal mischief, disorderly conduct, and misuse of 911, which is quite serious.
So she's going away. She's going to Florida prison.
She is. And according to the sheriff...
I don't know what was wrong with her that night. I don't know if she was like 2 fries short of a Happy Meal.
I'm Sheriff Buford Plus.
From Polk County.
Finally, one of the funniest sound effects in the world is the sound of an air biscuit. In this news story, the person held hers and became quite sick.
There are a number of significant milestones in any relationship. The first kiss, the first vacation together, the first time someone says, I love you, and of course, the first fart. Not necessarily in that order. While it's important to let your guard down and be vulnerable with your significant other, not everyone is as comfortable with letting everything out, which can lead to complications down the line. This was the case for a Brazilian singer who says she was hospitalized after severe stomach pains. Why? An accumulation of trapped farts.
No, wait. She wouldn't let it out.
In front of her significant other. Vivian
Spent a lot of time with him, I guess.
She
This
did.
built up. Yeah.
Vivian de Quiros Pereira was better known on stage as Polka.
She was better known on stage as Poopa.
Her name was Polka. She revealed to her 15.7 million followers that she had been too embarrassed to let it rip in front of her partner.
I've heard of her. That's Polka. She has the famous song, I Like a Tutor. Cross off all Latinos.
So here's what I'm thinking. So she was really embarrassed to let some gas out in front of her partner, but she told her 15.7 million followers that she has held her toots.
Oh, Nick, she had to. I mean, she was hospitalized.
The 27-year-old who
Did
shared...
she look as though she had gained weight? Was this gas building up? Was there a chance that she might have exploded on stage and maybe probably took a few people out in the first row?
I don't know, but I'm glad you mentioned that because the 27-year-old shared a series of videos of herself in hospital. She reassured her fans that
With a pipe coming out of her.
she's now fine following
She
the
showed
ordeal.
that wonderful picture of her laying in a hospital bed and all the nurses with gas masks around her.
She woke up at 5:30 in the morning and ended up in the hospital. That's right. But that's it, guys. I'm now fine. Just an accumulation of trapped farts. Quote, Polka, we'll call her Polka. Her name was Polka. Also urged her fan base not to make the same mistake as she did. As Shrek once wisely said, it's better out than in. You remember that great...
Yeah, well, she should have. I mean, she should have just said to her boyfriend, listen, this has got to come out. You
Well,
know?
she said, Polka quote says, this is I quote now, girls,
Polka,
don't,
polka. Maybe the boyfriend should have poked her.
quote, girls...
Maybe he was afraid to poke her stomach. Like,
It's called birth control.
notice how I got out of that one.
100%. She said, girls, quote, don't be ashamed to fart in front of your guy because what's really embarrassing is not letting your guy sleep because you're in discomfort.
She used to do a lot of Latino music, this girl. She did the La Bamba dances and things like that. Now her and her boyfriend do the polka.
Totally different. So she says, because what's really embarrassing is not letting your guy sleep because you're in discomfort, going to the hospital with your guy, and the diagnosis being trapped farts.
What she said is, okay, mi boyfriend, he polka. I do La Bamba.
And critics say she was a gas.
She should call up Joe Biden and say, I can solve the gas prices
Here you go.
right now.
From now on, I'm letting them rip. So an article, according to a professor, now this is the serious part. Now this is, I mean, we
It should
have
be
some fun.
serious, Nick. The woman was hospitalized.
A professor of
This is no
nutrition,
joke.
a professor of nutrition and dietetics at the University of Newcastle.
Dietetics or a dietitian. One or the other. Another Nickism.
They reiterate that cutting the cheese is almost preferable to holding it in.
Well, I'm glad that a dietetic said that.
Maybe she was diabetic. Who knows? Holding in
So
the
the dietitian
dietitian said,
used a pun with the word cheese.
right, cutting the cheese is almost
Doesn't
preferable
she
to
know
hold
there's a lot of cholesterol in cheese?
Well, that's a different issue. While holding in gas can lead up a buildup of pressure.
So what is her name? Poopa?
No, it's Claire Collins.
No, Claire Collins.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm talking about the singer.
Polka. Her name was Polka.
Polka.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Did she dance the polka?
Yeah. She's like, polka.
Holding in flatulence for too long means the buildup of intestinal gas will eventually escape via an uncontrollable fart. On
Yeah,
average,
you don't want it coming out of your nose.
No, you don't. and so that you know, because it's totally useless information, on average, people break wind 14 times a day.
No.
On
Really?
On average.
I consider myself
Above
a
average.
really good farter. My son says it all the time. Dad, you're a good farter.
Yeah. Speaking of fodder,
No, I consider myself someone who is capable of relieving this problem. But 14 times a day?
on average, 14 times a day.
Really? Well, I'm going to start keeping count.
Well,
I'm going to use my iWatch
we are going to Apple iWatch.
as a detective.
We want to thank you for listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. Don't forget, Season 7 starts next week. They really have a great time scouring the internet and other sources to gather totally useless information just for you. Please visit nickandroy.com to find out more about their special birthday messages. Send your loved one a unique gift. Visit nickandroy.com/birthdays for more information. Thanks for listening.